him hearing different voices and people that treat him with respect, but they were bringing the same level of intensity that I was.
Right.
The only difference was he didn't have to ride the car home with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
he got that hard love, but it wasn't something that transferred to coming home. And I got to be a dad, and that's something that I really appreciate. And you don't always find that in the community. Our community has that. Our
Right.
community has that. So
We have each other's back. That's what it's all about.
yes, sir.
That's it. So, Coach, in your experience, what are some of the challenges that young athletes face in their football journey, and how do you help them overcome them?
Man, where do you begin? You know, we have a large population in our county that are on free or reduced lunch. That segment of our population will tell you what segment of the population of your high school, of your team, is going through some financial hardships. You see that all the time where, you know, we think about a traditional household with a mom and dad and the kids, and there's so many of these kids, they don't have fathers in the picture.
Right.
There's so many of these kids don't have mothers. There's so many kids that don't have either. They're being raised by their grandparents or their aunts and uncles. The number of kids we have in foster care, like the challenges that these kids are going through. And I'm speaking for Citrus County, and it's not just Citrus County.
Right.
It's nationwide.
Right.
But you know, we've been very fortunate in our family. So our kids have a lot of different people to look up to. They have a strong support system. What really breaks my heart when you're talking about challenges is that I know the athletes that they don't eat a hot meal every night.
Right.
The best meal they'll get all day is at school. And I'm not saying nothing bad about school lunches, but it shouldn't be the best meal they get all day.
Right.
Those things break my heart. Social media is a challenge for kids right now. They can't put down the phone. They can't get off social media. It's killing kids at every level of athletics. It's killing their opportunities for the next level because they post something stupid when they're 16. And now a recruiter sees that. And it could be a D1 guy, it might be an NAIA guy who's interested in bringing this kid up, but they see something that paints them in a negative light, and that isn't what they want. That isn't what they want for their culture moving forward. And so making sure to tell them to put the phone down, get off social media, be smart about what you're posting, be positive. Coach, you're a coach. I've been a coach for 17 years now. There isn't one coach I know of in this country that hasn't been attacked on social media.
Right.
There isn't one I don't know. There isn't one.
Right.
And it's going to be constant because you can never please everybody. You got a roster of 50, 60 guys. You're not going to please everybody.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. But making sure you don't respond to that negativity, making sure that you take the higher road, and teaching your athletes how to do that as well will keep them out of that negative light whenever somebody goes searching and they're trying to put something on them. And so it's a lot of positivity. Other challenges they face, some are going to get a vehicle at 16. Some are never going to have a vehicle.
Right.
Some are going to have reliable transportation to school. Some are going to be late almost every day.
Right.
And we have certain guidelines set for all of our students, and rightfully so. You have to have some kind of standards. However, it's just not realistic in the world we live in today with these kids. So challenges, Coach, you bring up any topic, and you're gonna have a segment of your players that have challenges in those areas.
Right. It's endless. Like you said, it's just but it's great that you got to see it at every level. With
Yes.
you being working at the school closely, being an SRO, you got to see it at the middle school level, at the high school level. So, you would be the one, to ask, what kind of challenges. So that's awesome. So, Coach, you're a well-respected coach in our community, and these kids, they'll run through a wall for you. What is your secret sauce in getting that type of effort from these kids, man?
The secret sauce ain't changed for anybody. It's always gonna be love. It is. I have kids that I have torn into their butts, and they'll call me on my birthday.
Right.
They'll invite me to their wedding. I think the biggest thing a coach can do is show that they appreciate these kids off the field. because on the field, it's easy to show appreciation. Whenever, we're winning championships here or there or wherever we've been, at every level, it's very easy to show appreciation. Thank you for what you did. Thank you for what you did. It's very easy because if you're the head coach, you get the W or the L next to your name.
Right.
So when you get a lot of W's, it's very easy to appreciate. Do you show your appreciation to these athletes off the field? Do you text them on their birthdays? Do you invite them over to Thanksgiving when you know their family may not be having that same opportunity? Do you go out of your way to make sure that you highlight what they've done, not just on the field, in the classroom, community service? Have you highlighted those things? A benefit that we have being a coach is being able to advocate for these athletes, and I think it's just as important off the field as it is on the field. Athletes that came out and tried out for our teams and they end up quitting, football wasn't for them, they still get the same amount of love, Coach.
Right.
That's just how we operate. That's how me and every coach that I've coached with, for the most part, operates. We've been very fortunate, and I think it gets overlooked that, we have to meet certain standards and we have to follow certain rules and we have to answer, up the chain of command. We're here for one reason. We got a whole bunch of kids on a football field that want to play football. And when that dynamic is gone, none of us have a job.
Right.
None of us have a job. So making sure that you are advocating for them. I see it all the time, recruiters, they'll come in and they'll ask about a kid. And, past high school, unless you're going to coach at a college that they're going to go to, their athletic ability is not going to benefit you on that field anymore.
Right.
It's not going to benefit you. Obviously, it can benefit them, it can benefit the coach you're going to. And I see a kid come in and, or a recruiter come in and they'll ask about a certain kid and they'll ask about his academics and they'll ask about, how is he in the weight room and how is he here at practice and making sure that you're advocating for them the proper way. So we have an athlete that doesn't love the weight room, but he's a heck of a football player.
Right.
He's got some size. He's a heck of a football player. Doesn't love the weight room, doesn't hate it, but doesn't love it. And to be honest with that recruiter and say, hey, he isn't where he needs to be right now in the weight room, but he will be by the time he leaves here.
Right.
Don't worry about that. Don't give up on him because of this. I'm not telling you, you should never lie about it. However, you spin that as a positive.
Right.
It's getting better. He'll be where he needs to be whenever he walks out of here. And so I think making sure you're spinning it in a positive way all the time for these kids, like I said, off the field as much as on the field. I've been to birthday parties, I've been to weddings, I've been to graduation parties for athletes. Some of those guys were some of the best football players I ever coached. Some of them were my third string long snapper.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So just treating them with
Show
respect.
everybody the same love.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
They gave up their time to play for you.
Right.
Show them a little bit of loyalty and respect because they could have literally been doing anything else.
Right.
And I think, I'll tell you a quick story about that. Me and you were coaching together. Do you remember Coach Joya?
Yeah.
Arthur Joya.
That's my guy.
So I love Arthur. Still one of my good friends. He lives in Cape Cod now. So that year I was coaching the JV under JT and you were defense coordinator there at Citrus. We were on the field and one of our players had done something very irresponsible. It warranted being kicked off the team. I informed the player that he was no longer a part of the team, and obviously that was with JT's approval, and that goes up to the AD and all the way up. However, I informed him based on his decision making, he wasn't a part of the team. So I had support. That player had walked down the road back to the stadium and then was walking up Stadium Drive. And I'm out on the field coaching, and as I'm coaching, Coach Joya goes, Coach RJ, that breaks my heart, and I didn't even see it. And I looked, and he was walking down Stadium Drive out to the road. And when I had tears, just because I see this kid walking, you don't even have a ride to pick him up.
Right.
And so at that time, he wasn't quite to Highland Boulevard. I got in my truck and I drove him up, picked him up, and I said, here's what you're gonna do. I said, you're gonna play football for this team. You're gonna practice every day, but you will not have the benefit of playing in the game.
Right.
And so I explained that to JT, full support. I explained that to and I'm sure that went up. And what he had done was outside of school. It wasn't, I wasn't overriding school. What he had done was outside of school.
Right.
So the only thing I can think about is with him walking down Stadium Drive is that for 3 hours a day, I know he's not going to be in trouble here.
Right.
And I just gave him 3 extra hours a day to find more trouble, and I couldn't do it. Right. And so he was my best football player on that team. Yeah. Like he wasn't some second string corner. He wasn't some kid who was just a placeholder. This was a kid who played both sides of the ball and helped us win a lot of the first 3 games that he was there.
Right.
But he did stay a part of that team. It did help him stay out of trouble, but that was because Coach Joya pointed that out to me. So, using your position to say, okay, you're not going to get the benefit of getting to play in the game. You ain't going to have your name in the paper. You ain't going to get all that. But you are going to be a part of this team. And to his credit, that kid showed up every day in practice the rest of the season until our season's over.
I remember that kid. Yeah,
yep.
He was a tough kid too. Very tough kid.
Very tough kid.
And I'd say you probably saved him from a lot of trouble just because you thought about you look at the whole picture and you got it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just about, X's and O's. I mean, you knew that if you, pretty much gave up on that young man and left him abandoned, he was probably guaranteed to get in some trouble.
Absolutely.
But you were there to, constantly pouring to him every day after school, and that's awesome. That's just
yeah, he was one of my favorite kids ever, man. That kid worked hard for us.
And that right there proves the secret sauce, which is love. You know what I'm saying? Love, and if you're a young coach and you're out there coming up, it ain't about throwing your hat down and throwing tantrums on the sideline. Love is everything. Yep. Love covers all multitudes. So,
it sure does.
So I think that's awesome, Coach.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, you and I, we've seen a lot of athletes come through this county. Some of them successful, some of them not so much. How passionate are you about making sure that every player that wants to play at that next level gets their opportunity?
Oh, I'm very passionate about it. It was funny because my last year at Citrus, I had 4 football players that I feel like they could have went and played at the next level, and that's varying levels. And so when I approached them, I didn't. That's just the kids I felt could. There were other kids who wanted to, and we were going to give them our best effort as well. However, I went up to one of the athletes, and you know him very well, and I said, do you want to play at the next level? And the reason why I asked that is I don't want to assume, because I don't want to waste. You know how it is recruiting.
Right.
Sometimes you're on the phone for 14 hours a day trying to get these kids looks. You're leaving voicemails, you're sending emails, you're sending tapes, you're texting back and forth, and it takes a lot. I mean, there was a time there where for 2.5, 3 months, I was on the phone for 14 hours a day. I was on the phone on Saturdays. My wife was about ready to kick me out of the house.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, she's like, back off. So I always wanted to ask these athletes, is this your goal? And one kid who was very capable, he told me, he goes, Coach, I just want to move by the coast and fish every day.
Right.
That's what he told me. He had no desire to play college football. He was capable, but he had no desire. And I appreciated that because he saved me so much time of trying. He had already had his goals set out. That kid is living by the coast fishing every day now, having a great time.
Right.
And I love seeing his updates. He texts me every once in a while. He comes back into town. He is living the life he wanted to. But for those kids that want to move on, we were down at USF at 7-on-7, and I was talking to 4 of their position coaches about our players and trying to figure out, number one, was there a legitimate interest? Are these guys going to fit your build? Right. Size, strength, speed. Number 2, find out if they're qualified academically, because that's on them. What they do in the classroom is on them. However, if a kid tells me, this is what I want to do, then we're gonna all our chips are in. We're going for that kid 100%.
Right.
And we've seen some really good football players come through here that should have been playing at some of our premier universities in the state that aren't. Some of that was by their decision making. Others was because of work ethic. Some was because of grades. So informing them, just being honest with them about what's going to be required physically, what's going to be required academically. For most of the athletes, 99% of them, if you want to play at the next level, what's your out-of-pocket cost going to be?
Right.
Because there's going to be some out-of-pocket costs.
Absolutely.
So how far is it going to be? Are you going to go? We have some really good football players that you and I have coached, or that we've been a part of their lives that are playing out in Montana,
right,
and doing a great job. They were willing to go there, and they're having great seasons. They're obviously you coached them a little more than I did, but great kids, great seasons. They're finding a ton of success. Those kids had that commitment. They didn't care. They would have went to Hawaii to play football.
right.
They would have went to Japan. They didn't care.
Right.
So not every kid has that commitment. Not every kid has that ability to be away from home, that far away from home, knowing I might not see dad for 6 months. I might not see dad for a year. I'm not going to be able to see the people I grew up with. So it's making sure that they understand all the dynamics, and making sure that you're informing them that at this next level, it's a business.
Right.
It's a business. They profit off of your play.
Absolutely.
At the next level. With that being said, it doesn't mean it's not fun. It's still a lot of fun.
Right.
But it's a business, and what's required of you only gets harder. You're only going to have to give more of yourself. So if we find those kids who are willing to sacrifice and commit to what is going to be required, you push all your chips in. You go for it. You go for it. Anything you can do. Anybody you can call. And I did it for Coach Franklin, and it was nonstop. I mean, you never feel like you've done enough. You go to, you're like, well, I emailed 17 colleges today. I sent his film. I called 6 coaches today. I had 30, and you just never feel like it's enough until they sign on that dotted line.
Right.
And so it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of coaches. It takes a lot.
It does. And just there is a school out there for anybody that wants to play.
Absolutely.
There's so many different, NAIA schools, Division I, Division II, Division III. Everybody, they feel like, if you don't make it play for University of Florida or a Power 5 school, then, it's pretty much a bust.
It's not.
It's not a bust.
It's not.
If you love football, like you said, we had kids that go and they're playing in, up in Montana right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they love football. They don't care, it don't have to be anybody in the stands.
And these kids could probably play at a higher level than that too, because
Right.
they're good football players.
Right.
I know their daddies very well. I know how they were trained.
Right.
I know how they were coached. They're good football players.
But you and I both know that realistically, there's only so much room on different rosters, all across America.
And COVID.
They can't have 300 people on a roster.
And COVID
Right.
delayed that, and it's trickling down to these age groups. And
Right.
the transfer portal, and a kid, they're interested in a kid here, but they end up getting a transfer, a kid on transfer here. Those things, it's just a big, game right now, and it can create opportunity,
Right.
and it can also kill opportunity.
You're right.
So you have to be persistent. Obviously, the persistence and making sure that you're getting their name out and doing right by them with the resources you have.
Right.
I don't have the same resources at the coaches at IMG have.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they have a different. They're playing at a different. They built that, but they have a different set. They're playing on a different field than we are.
Right.
Are you doing best by the kids with the resources you have?
Right.
And then not only that, trying to expand those resources. Just like when we were down at USF, I knew a couple of the coaches. Now I have 5 of them that I can communicate with, and if our kid fits their build, now I can start making those contacts. And it's not just me. It's an army. Coach Colson, he's very, very well connected to a lot of college football coaches and very well respected. That guy's going to be working for these kids. Coach Wyatt's going to be working for these kids. Coach Herndon, he's going to be working for these kids. Right. Coach Twan, I mean, who's a better resource than that guy?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Coach Twan, he's a heck of a man, and he comes from that same coaching tree of what you started there. So, we're very passionate about it. It's just they have to understand what's required, and they're willing to meet those requirements. For us to invest that much time into getting them into college, because I don't think there's anything more rewarding than being there on signing day with a kid you've coached for years.
Absolutely.
And he's going to fulfill his dream, or she.
Right. Or she, you're right. We coach both boys and girls, so you're right about that.
Yep.
And also just make sure they have their major at that school. That's a big thing too. Just because you want to go to the school, make sure you know what you want to do outside of football.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Coach, this is your opportunity. Just let the community know, what you got covered up in the future.
So our football team, we're working hard through summer conditioning. We have 10 days off. They're going to be kids. Obviously, the summertime is tricky because you have kids going out of town, you have kids going on family vacations, you have kids that have to work. That's part of those challenges we spoke with. So obviously, the summer's not mandatory anyway. However, we like as many kids to be there as possible. After that, we'll get back. We'll end up going to team camp, and then we're all in. We're 100 miles an hour to put the best product on the field we can this fall. We got a very good team. Coach Colson, Coach Wyatt, myself is benefiting from a great foundation that was set by you and Coach Twan. You guys have, we don't have a ton of returning starters. That JV team was pretty good last year.
Right.
They were pretty good last year.
Absolutely.
And those kids have moved up with the returners that we had. We have some great incoming freshmen. We got a tough schedule, Coach.
Right.
We got a tough schedule.
You got tough kids too.
We got tough kids too.
Right.
They're up for the challenge. We're gonna play 5A. They're always gonna put athletes on the field. We're gonna play Springstead.
Right.
Do I need to say any more? Springstead. They're gonna be ready.
Right.
They're a heck of a football team, well coached. We're going to play Hernando. Every year they seem to turn out a couple athletes that you go, wow, I didn't know that guy was here.
Right.
Citrus. I've coached almost every kid on that roster. They got a pretty good middle linebacker, maybe one of the best linebackers in our whole region.
Right, they're gonna be tough, Coach.
They got some linemen who can move some bodies, and they got 3 wide receivers that they're under the radar right now, but they won't be for long.
Right.
They're good football players, and I know that personally.
Right. Also, Chris Rivers tough too, Coach.
Chris the River, man, let me tell you what, they got that running back, and I don't want to say their names on here, but they know who he is. He's special.
I was going to say that this man, if you want to win, put JoJo in. And shout out to Coach Lowry, man. He's doing a fantastic job with those kids over
He
there.
is. And Coach Lowry's going to benefit from a very good incoming freshman class.
Right.
Coach Reynolds, Coach Stack over there at the middle school, they've done a great job with these kids.
Right.
And they got a incoming freshman class headlined by a couple big names that are. Coach Lowry's going to put a contender on the field.
That's awesome.
He's going to put a contender on the field. You can guarantee that. It's that schedule. It's tough, and you got to navigate that. With that being said, we're good too.
Right.
We're a good football team.
Absolutely. Don't take nothing away from it.
And it's going to come down to great coaching. It's going to come down to disciplined football and execution. Just like every single game since the beginning of time. That's what it's going to come down to. And we're excited about the challenges. Our ceiling's set high. Coach Colson come in. There was no, we have all these starters. I don't think he understood how strong the JV guys that were coming up were going to be.
Right. But
it was that same approach that you had. Like, we're shooting for the ceiling. If we come up short, that's fine, but it ain't gonna be because we weren't trying. I'm very proud to be on Coach Colson's staff. He's a great resource for the kids.
Shout out to Coach Colson, by the way. Coach Colson?
Coach Colson.
Shout out to him, Coach. Doing a good job over those boys.
He's a fantastic man. He's a great family man. He's great with these kids. He has a lot of respect for what you had done there and what you had built and that he got to inherit. He put his own spin on it like we all do.
Right.
But he's going to build something special at Lecanto. And people should be very excited. He likes running that air raid offense, so let me tell you what, boy.
Right.
Yeah, and we got a quarterback who's pretty good. Obviously, we have the Moore brothers.
Right.
We have Tej Joseph. We have Pace. We have Binky, Mattaway, and Momberg.
Right.
How can you not be excited about starting a team with those two?
Absolutely.
I don't think people realize how good those kids are. And we have some other offensive line pieces that are going to fill in. Hopefully we get Nero back soon.
Right. Shout out to Big Hoagie.
Yeah, Big Hoagie. And then, Caden Joyner's out there. And we have Nate Vonderhaar.
Yes.
Coach, this kid.
Nate the Great.
Nate the Great, man.
Yeah.
He's Josh Patrick.
Right.
The kid goes under the radar until you see him in a game and you're like, that's a football player right there.
Absolutely. Kind of reminds you of Fryer a little bit.
He does.
He's young, but Fryer, he's one of the kids, he'll knock your head off.
He does.
He's one of the old school players.
The thing I'm most excited about with this team is that, Caden Moore is a junior.
Yes.
Braylon Ward is a sophomore.
Right.
JT Tipton is a sophomore. Nate Vonderhaar is a junior. Tej Joseph is a junior. These aren't kids that you get to see for 1 year, or we get to see. Obviously, you got to see it. That we get to see these guys for the next 2 and 3 years.
Right.
And they're already finding a ton of success. And
they're only going to get better, Coach.
They are only going to get better. And all I can say is that JT Tipton, what a leader.
Right.
What a leader. We're very blessed to have that kid because he's a competitor. He wants to distribute. He wants to throw the ball around. He wants to spread the love. He is the most unselfish kid I've ever seen.
Right.
When it comes to that position, and just a great decision maker, great family he comes from. Heck of a basketball player. Just happens to be the GCA Player of the Year or whatever he is as a freshman, or what, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, just happens to be that too as a freshman.
Right. And also scored 1,000 points as a freshman.
1,000 points. 1,000 points. So we got him, and he has a great supporting cast. And then, like I said up front with Mattaway and Momberg, they're going to lead it. And we got 3 other linemen who are good football players too, but those 2 are kind of the headliners right now. It's very exciting at Lecanto right now. It's very exciting. We got our administration's excited. Our student base is excited. It's going to be something special. I really believe that. I'm proud to be a part of it. Just like I was whenever I was going to coach there under you. You know what I mean? Like, I respect good coaching, and I respect coaches that do it the right way. And luckily, I've been able to align myself with those guys that do that. So I'm very excited.
And Coach, I think you're just like me. You like to see all kids win.
Oh, yeah.
It don't matter the school. I mean, of course you got your kids, but if you see kids shining over in Chris River, if you see kids shining over at Citrus, you see kids shining in Hernando, it don't matter where you're at, man. I mean, I want to see all kids achieve their dreams. That's what it's all about.
Well, just like your kids in the sky, my son and my daughters, they're friends with so many of these kids.
Right.
4 of my son's best friends are in that incoming class that are going to Crystal River. You know, that's how do you not root for those kids?
Right.
And I've coached some of those kids as well.
Right.
Crystal River's maybe going to be their quarterback. I believe he will be. He's a heck of a kid. I've coached that kid. I was his first football coach ever.
Right.
He's a good football player. Those incoming freshmen, I've coached some of them in baseball. They're good kids. They come from great families. The kids at Citrus that I've coached for years, some of these kids were 5 years old. They couldn't even put their helmet. They couldn't button their chin straps.
Right.
And we were coaching them, and they're great kids. And you know, I got a text from one of the kids over at Citrus that said, "Hey, Coach, had a great time at 7-on-7 camp. I'm coming back harder next week." And I would expect nothing less. And he's going to be a really good receiver for them.
Right.
But just the fact they take their time out to say, "Hey, Coach, how you doing?" There's no love lost there. I wear different colors. And 5 years, I might wear different colors than this.
Right.
And
That's coaching.
You don't know. You
Right.
don't know. The turnover rate is high in this job, but those relationships go beyond colors. They go beyond time. And that's really going back to the secret sauce.
Right.
It's love and relationships. And I'm very, very blessed to have had the opportunities I've had to coach the players I've coached. Coach, I can't name one player I've ever coached that I disliked.
Right.
I can name some that I got on more than others, but I can't name one that I dislike. So it's very exciting for not just Lecanto, but for your other high schools in the area to see what's going to, because this is really, you know, that first group, that Citrus team with Gatto and Fryer and Bacon. That was kind of my first group of babies, but now all those other groups, those 8-9 classes that I coach back to back to back, they're all starting to come up through high school, and some are in their senior year, some are in their 6th and 7th grade year at middle school, but they're all starting to hit their stride, and it's going to be exciting. And I'm going to be at a lot of football games, either coaching or cheering for them over this next decade, and I couldn't be more excited about it. My son being one of them.
Yes, absolutely. Can't give a shout out my man, Ryder.
Yeah.
He's coming along, man.
Yeah, he's a big Coach Shot fan.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Ryder fan. Well, Coach, man, listen, man, it's always great coming around and chopping it up with you, man. It's awesome, man, and I wish you nothing but success in this coming season.
Coach, thank you for everything you did for me. Thank you for coaching with me and letting me coach with you all those years.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't be happier.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Sorry, man.
Hey fam, thanks for watching. Be sure to smash the follow button for more content and drop a comment below and let us know where we should go next.